Welcome to the Dynasty Playbook, or as it has become affectionately known in the last week, the Dynasty Dickholes.
Howdy,
we
Tyler's.
Oh my god.
I'm just trying to act more like Tyler. Isn't that what it is? Thank y'all for joining us here on the Dynasty Dickholes.
All right. I'm your host, Drew. You can find me on Twitter at Drew Dodson NFL. With me is my co-host, Waz at Waz NFL. And as you can see, we're a perfectly legitimate fantasy podcast, definitely contributing to the community. And for everybody that keeps asking, the IDP playbook is coming. I know you guys are clamoring for that defense knowledge.
I need a break, man. I mean, this is going on 3 weeks in a row, and I need you to spin in the IDP stuff just so I can not have to do this 1 week. Because, I mean, I really forced myself to get on cam and get on a mic and just start talking to you. Sometimes I wish I could not do that. So let's get that IDP thing going on.
Yeah, the only problem with that is you're not getting off the hook. An IDP playbook does not replace that week's offense-only playbook.
I'll have to ask Tyler for advice on how to walk out of a podcast.
That's fucking brutal. It's coming soon. So keep your eyes open. Tyler and I are actually both going to do a little IDP playbook reunion on the Read and React podcast. So keep an eye out for that. Definitely check that out. And I guess let's move into the important news of the week. Matt Asiata did not get signed by the Lions. And unfortunately, Kenny Hilliard has been cut. I know. I got to drop him off of so many rosters, too.
I would believe that you probably have both of them on more than one roster.
I do not have either of them on any roster.
It just seems like the kind of players that you would draft and hold on to.
What, Matt Asiata?
That vulture, man. I thought we were in this game to score touchdowns and win some football games.
Yeah, the only problem is when he doesn't score touchdowns, he doesn't score anything at all.
Asiata rolls in the end zone and 0 points because that would be Asiata, man. But yeah, I'm pretty sure people weren't starting him nor Hilliard. So let's talk about some young guns, some rookies, some rookie running backs that actually might score some points this year.
Yeah. So which one do you want to start with?
Eeny, meeny, miny, D'Onta Foreman.
Yeah. See, I have a lot of trouble with Foreman because I really liked his tape. He was really an interesting prospect to me. And then he lands in Houston. And it conflicts with my feelings that I think Lamar Miller is going to have a bounce back season this year. I think he's going to give you the running back one numbers we were all promised when he went there. I just can't think the offense is going to be any worse than it was last year with Brock Osweiler. So to me, that kind of says if Miller keeps having success in Houston, Foreman's not really going to see a lot of playing time. And the cost he's kind of running about right now it's just a little high for me to take a guy who isn't going to see starting carries in the foreseeable future in my world.
All right, so D'Onta Foreman's going off 19th overall based on Ryan McDowell's ADP rookie mocks. So that's running back like 1, 2, 3. I mean, I don't think the price is terrible, especially for Dynasty. Sure, if we're looking at this year, I know there's a lot of news kind of, picking him up, and he's gaining a little bit of value because everyone's trying to get on the Foreman train here. He could absolutely start eating into those carries. Lamar Miller didn't look good last year at all, and you say that there's nowhere really for him to go but up. Miller was really dull, and so, but this is more like a fairy tale to expect D'Onta Foreman to unseat Lamar Miller from that quote-unquote workhorse role that really didn't even look like a workhorse role last year. Lamar Miller's being highly paid right now, and he's kind of respected for the team. So I don't think he's easily going to be cast aside. But looking down the road in 2018, I think there's a good chance that Miller might not even be, they could just let him go. I think would only be a $2 million dead cap hit if they let him go next year, which might be worth doing if Foreman actually has any signs of life and the fact that he can carry a 3-down role, which I absolutely believe that Foreman can. I mean, so his last 2 years at the University of Texas, Foreman, he was given 11 or more carries in a game 14 times. And in each of those games, he ran for 100 plus yards, sometimes 150 plus yards with 8 times. And occasionally 250 yards 3 times. And one time he set the school record, 341 yards. Foreman has the capability to be an every down workhorse running back. And I think once they start seeing that from Foreman, if he does it, and Miller continues to kind of act a little dull and kind of like being too rich to keep around, we could see Miller gone in 2018. So we'll see. I know he had some fumble issues at the same time. 6 fumbles lost last year, but supposedly also had a broken hand, and then the fumbles didn't start picking up until like halfway through the season. So I guess it's going to see if that first fumble that he, if he fumbles for, one of his first few carries at the NFL level, if we start seeing the preseason, that is an area of concern, and that will draw some red flags. But, let's just hope it was the broken hand issue. Let's hope he hangs on the football. We want guys like D'Onta Foreman to prevail. We want him to do better than Lamar Miller, because I'm pretty sure a lot of us are already kind of bored and sick of kind of pulling our hair out for Lamar Miller.
Oh, I don't know. I've always got a special place in my heart for Miller. But with that, I guess let's move on to somebody else. I guess Kareem Hunt would be the guy to do. He's being pretty popular lately. And I'm all about him as a first-round pick right now. And a lot of that comes from the fact that I was never a Spencer Ware believer. I didn't like him in college, and it's probably stained my view of him as an NFL player. But he doesn't excite me. He doesn't seem like a guy that's going to really hold down a role. And I liked Hunt in college, and I think he's a guy that can really hold down a role and be a real, legit fantasy back.
I totally agree with that. I mean, at the same time, while he's not the best running back prospect, Kareem Hunt looks the best at being a running back when he's watching his tape. It seems like when he gets going, I mean, he doesn't have breakaway speed. He's not the strongest, but he has such a finesse to him that's really fun to watching him run, kind of bouncing off players. He's got that classic pinball look. He kind of makes plays, but he doesn't make him look sloppy. He seems like he just totally gets it. I really like what I see with his vision. I heard there was a reference made to where he's almost like a wave of rushing water going down a mountainside, and as it picks up speed, whatever's in its way just gets kind of pushed to the side, and you can't stop it. That's I totally agree, and that's what I see when I'm watching Kareem Hunt run. The thing is, he does need to pick up that speed, and there were several times where you just see him kind of get taken down with one arm. So I think he needs to kind of work on, especially at the NFL level, to set up those defenders in order to get, that extra cut in order to get past that second level and just, pick up that speed and keep going. But I'm totally on board with Kareem Hunt. Not as high as others, and it seems like this team's definitely picking up for him. But I think he's going to be fun to watch. But I also do like Spencer Ware, and at the same time, Andy Reid's the kind of person that's going to utilize, probably a committee of sorts. I think he's going to initially take over the Sharkhandrick West role. And as he starts, getting more carries and getting more playing time, that's when we're going to start seeing him probably in more of a timeshare with Spencer Ware. I don't think Hunt's ever probably going to be that guy, not anywhere in the next 2 or 3 years. He's never going to be that workhorse running back, the 3-down back. But he's going to be utilized in the passing game. But I think we need to kind of consider the fact that he's always going to be in a timeshare. I don't think Spencer Ware is going anywhere. So that's something to consider, especially when his price continues to rise. When do we be like, all right, that's a little too much. I can't do it.
Yeah, see, I completely disagree on Hunt's ceiling. I think Hunt could overtake Ware by the end of the year and get, he's not going to get Jamal Charles carries, not that type of just full workhorse.
Well,
excuse me.
I don't think he's ever going to supplant Spencer Ware. But if something happens to Spencer Ware, Kareem Hunt is, what an asset to have at his price. I mean, you're going to have probably a top 10 dynasty asset the moment Spencer Ware gets hurt and Kareem Hunt is playing for that football. The only guy in his way, I know it doesn't seem like it's much, but it is only Spencer Ware. But I don't see Andy Reid and the Chiefs organizations kind of moving Ware to the side. As long as he continues to play well. We'll see. I mean, there was a guy at ESPN that truly believes that Kareem Hunt will be the guy this year. I'd be excited to see that. At the same time, I won't be really having any shares because I do think his price is a little high because they are all assuming he's going to start taking the lead role away from Spencer Ware, where I actually don't think that. So, it's all opinion based right now. I know we need to see how the first year shakes out. I'd be more inclined to buy him after next year, I think, to kind of assume that Ware still has a big role and then Hunt's value drops a little bit and maybe then sweep in and try to pick him up.
Yeah, see, we're just predicting two entirely different futures, so it's hard to keep the same valuation.
That's what we do, isn't it?
Something like that. So I guess who's our next guy going to be?
How about speaking of handcuffs? So if I consider Kareem Hunt a handcuff of sorts to Spencer Ware. One of the more intriguing handcuffs, if we're considering rookie running backs, is probably James Conner. We've seen it several times already where either Le'Veon Bell gets hurt or he smokes some dope. And, we've seen the running back two in Pittsburgh carry great value. And James Conner, I mean, it wasn't too many years ago where he was considered the best running back in his class. And then he came down and he was going through cancer treatments and whatnot. But then last year when he came back, he's like, here, let me score 20 touchdowns. And 4 of those were receiving touchdowns. So the dude can still play. And if you actually look at his measurements and some of his metrics and some of his numbers, he's not that far off from a lot of the guys that we're talking about, like Deonta Foreman or Samaje Perine. The guy can still ball out. And I think it was a great comeback to see him come back and play at such a high level like he did. And if anything happens to Le'Veon Bell, it's game over. James Conner is already going to be that running back too. We don't have to worry about Fitzgerald to Sant, or anything like that. And we saw what, D'Angelo was able to do in Pittsburgh when Le'Veon Bell stepped aside. Because if Bell smokes some dope, I think his next time he's out for 10 games. That's all it's going to take James Conner to blow up in the NFL. And now's the perfect time to buy him because he's going late. I'd have to kind of see where he's going. He's going 27th overall right now. So he's going behind Wayne Gallman, who I'm like, I don't really care about you. He's going behind, Jamal Williams and stuff like that as well. So James Conner, pick him up late. I mean, I would love to have him in the 4th round of my rookie drafts.
Sorry about that. My nose started bleeding.
Oh my, geez. I mean, if I continue to talk for a long period of time, I guess it's just like you start dying a little bit on the inside. You're like, oh my God, he's talking about James Conner. He's talking how awesome he is. How do you feel about Conner though, man? He just make your shit bleed?
I really like Conner, actually.
Nice.
And I think I really don't need to talk on what he was capable of in college any more than you did because it sums it up perfectly. But Conner in the NFL, like you said, if Le'Veon gets suspended again, Conner's going to ball out, and Le'Veon still doesn't have a long-term contract.
No, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
On the off chance that this does happen, he gets another suspension before he gets a contract, and then Conner balls out, maybe they let Bell leave, which it sounds crazy, but paying these huge contracts to the running backs doesn't seem to be the prudent move in the NFL anymore.
Yes, and that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, is Bell really going to come back next year with the Steelers, like 2 franchise tags? It's probably a little considering it's far-fetched to think about Le'Veon Bell not being a Steeler, but in reality, it's really not that far-fetched because he can either get in trouble and he might not be worth the price tag or the risk for the Steelers when they have someone like James Conner on the back burner who could still play really well. He ain't no Le'Veon Bell, but he's going to make do with the rest of that team. You know what I mean? And, especially if Big Ben, whenever he starts retiring, they're not going to keep Le'Veon around. They're going to try to do this rebuild of sorts slowly but surely. And I think James Conner, getting him the ball early, trying to see what he can do, and the Steelers organization reconsidering should we pay Le'Veon Bell this much money and take on that much risk. I know it's far-fetched to think about it, but let's not get too surprised if they do.
Right, and I think Conner actually does hold some value outside of that, even more than just a handcuff, because I think the Steelers coaching staff starting to see some durability issues with Bell. So maybe they're bringing in Connor as a relief back, a guy that can, sub in and take some of the load off of Bell. It's not going to give him, RB1 potential, but it makes him usable in some of our deep ass leagues.
I totally agree, especially when you have to start 3 or 4 running backs. You're starting 11 offense and you're at 14 team leagues. James Conner is going to hold some value one way or another. I could see him in year one, giving Bell a breather and trying to keep him fresh, because we've seen even last year, Le'Veon kind of that week 16 game or week 17 game, whichever it was, he went out. I think it was an undisclosed injury or something, but I think it's taken a wear on him, especially the way that Le'Veon plays.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess let's next move on to the guy who I actually had a lot of interest in, and that's Curtis Samuel. He's getting to be one of my favorite mid-second round picks just because I see so much upside with him. It's kind of sky high. It's really one of those situations where the risk is huge. He might not turn into anything, but the reward is a stud. And I think he's going to get a chance to really to earn a role on the Panthers, and he might break out quite early. I could see people saying, he's a carbon copy of McCaffrey, and he's going to be, they're going to be cutting into each other's usage. I think they can both exist perfectly independent of each other, even if they're both on the field for every snap. I think they can both see fantasy relevance.
Fantasy relevance or fantasy relevancy?
Relevance.
I'm just wondering.
Relevancy is wrong. I think you were just wrong.
Well, here's the thing. Curtis Samuel, terrible landing spot for him, especially after they drafted McCaffrey, because I do believe, I mentioned this last week, that they do in a way probably cap each other's ceilings, just in one way or another. The thing is, there's no room, especially with Jay Stu there as well. There's really no room for another running back, and we saw how awesome Curtis Samuel was out of the backfield as well. So he's mostly going to get worked in as wide receiver. I think the Panthers are a desperate need for a wide receiver, especially if KB's weight issues keep up, and Devin Funchess, who I'm not really a big fan of, just kind of continues to play smaller than he really is. Yeah, and the same thing, they're talking about keeping Cam Newton in the pocket. So is he going to need more options? The thing is, Cam Newton's not that guy who's doing these short passes. He's a very what's the word I'm looking for? He's very stingy with the football, right? I mean, he wants to make the plays. He's probably going to get those angle situations. Christian McCaffrey's probably going to get all those, those short dump plays when there are, or those wheel routes and stuff like that. I want to like Curtis Samuel, and I still kind of do, but it's a tough situation. You know what I mean? So, but if you look at Samuel strictly as a wide receiver, like similar to like John Ross, then you could get excited, because I would love to see Curtis Samuel just as a wide receiver. Otherwise, he's going to be completely limited in what he can do there in Carolina. So it is possible that they could both coexist for fantasy success, but I think there's definitely risk involved, and you have to consider the fact that one or the other are going to be stealing some carries or some targets in that spotlight. So we'll see.
What's that?
No, we'll see. I was just going to say something like blah, 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 but I didn't have it prepared.
Oh, good. But yeah, that's a fair assessment. I think one factor that you kind of think matters, and I guess I don't, is Jay Stu. I think Jay Stu's done. I think he's just beyond done. You don't take a running back 8th overall if you still have a little bit of hope out for your current starting running back.
I mean, I'm going to continue to kind of like disagree there, because I do think Jay Stu is still going to have some relevancy. Let's see. All right, here's the thing about Christian McCaffrey, though. And everyone thinks, like, he's the media's darling. He's everyone's darling right now. It almost seems impossible for him to live up to his hype. The thing is, Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers are not known for those swing and dump passes to the running backs. Do you know who Carolina's top running back for targets was last year?
Tolbert.
No, it was Fozzie Whitaker.
Really?
And Fozzie was number 40 in targets among all running backs in 2016. That's how little they utilized the running backs in the passing game. And that's what makes me a little weary about the hype that Christian McCaffrey is building, and the same thing for Curtis Samuel. And that's why I want to see Curtis Samuel be utilized more as a wide receiver. So there's a lot of negatives. I don't know. They're going to give him the football. They're going to give Christian McCaffrey the football. They can both coexist. Let's just kind of not exceed our expectations. Let's not consider God, running a football, or or Jesus catching footballs out there in Christian McCaffrey and Curtis Samuel. It's Cam Newton's show, and that's just not how he works in this, in his offense. That's not how he runs his offense. And we've seen what Rivera wants to do. Now they're going to try to keep Cam in the pocket, and that's even more reason to worry, because they're like, so this is abnormal for all of them. Who knows what's going to happen? So we'll see. I like Curtis Samuel, though. I think I'm more willing to pay Samuel at his price and McCaffrey at his price for Dynasty.
I guess this is one of those things where you can make the stats say whatever story you want. You could say Fozzie Whitaker being, 41st in targets in the NFL, and he was their leading running back receiver. And so that says the offense doesn't want to pass the running back. I would, counter that with, if Fozzie Whitaker was your best receiving running back, I wouldn't throw the ball a whole lot to the running backs either.
That is fair. That's fair as hell. All right, I'll take that.
I think the best example would be, I guess, go back to D'Angelo Williams years and see what those numbers look like. But
let's not.
Yeah, not like live now, but I mean just later when you're sitting down and you're just craving some fantasy knowledge, which we all do, obviously. I'm sitting on the toilet like, I wonder what Carolina's running back usage looked like in 2009. Yeah, it doesn't happen to me either.
But I do remember those terrible Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo Williams times, because that was so difficult to predict who Carolina was going to roll out there in their backfield, who's going to score the touchdown. So those were tough years, and I don't want us to have to deal with that again.
Oh, absolutely not. That was the worst, because you finally think you picked the winner, and then you realize that no one picked the winner.
No one ever did.
Both of them turned into turds because they're both RB4s.
Yep.
Separately.
Yep. They limited each other's upside. Absolutely. But let's talk about someone that's probably not going to have to worry about sharing too many carries this year. I'll wait till you're done coughing. No, well, no. How you feeling?
Oh, I just coughed up some blood.
Oh, nice, man. So, Samaje Perine. I love it. I love everything about this guy right now. Of all the teams that were in dire need of a running back that we were watching with some of these top running back prospects, Samaje Perine to Washington was probably the one that fit best, because the only person he has to beat out is fat Rob Kelly, and he's awful. And Chris Thompson, he's a third down back. So Perine's at least a 2-down back, but he can come in at third downs to block. He's a really good in pass protection from what I saw. He's going to be on the field a lot. And if there's anything that we want in our running backs here in fantasy, is them to stay on the field as long as they possibly can. More snaps is more opportunity to score some points. So I would assume that he's going to be Washington's day one starter. But if it's Robert Kelly, hey, crazier things have happened, and I'm not the guy that's going to tell Robert Kelly that he's not playing football, but I can continue to hope that it's going to be Samaje Perine, because I think he's going to be the Jordan Howard of 2017. Everything that I see from Perine reminds me of Jordan Howard. They run and move the same way. They're power runners who read their blocks really well. You know what I mean? They find that open space to roll out when they need to. They're willing to roll out because they do trust their instincts and the fact that they could probably beat those edge guys. I don't know. They're kind of different runners in their own sense. And I think if Samaje Perine is a day one starter, I think you're going to see him have great success, especially in a nice budding offense there in Washington. Kirk Cousins only has 1 year. Terrell Pryor only has 1 year. Now you have a really good offensive line there for someone like Perine. The more that they score and the more ahead in the football games that they get, Perine's going to have more opportunities. And I think from day one, year one, I'm willing to pay a really high price just to get Perine, because I know I'm going to get really good numbers from him in 2017 and 2018 and 2019 until his wheels fall off. I think he has the endurance and the skill set to be a workhorse running back and stick around the league for several years.
Yeah, I can see that. Now, I wasn't as excited about P. Ryan's tape as you were, and especially compared to Jordan Howard. What's that?
I thought he was the better running back at times than Joe Mixon.
That's a ballsy statement. We'll see how that one plays out.
Here's the thing about can I throw in a quick little Joe Mixon some stats here?
Yeah.
All right. So the best Joe Mixon games that we saw, they always came against those terrible Big 12 defenses like Baylor, West Virginia, Texas Tech. That's when he had his 100+ rushing yard games. So against some of the bigger, more balanced teams such as Texas, Tennessee, Ohio State, Houston, Auburn, Clemson, Kansas State, I have here. That's when he wasn't as great. So I don't know. I mean, you could give a little bit of respect to maybe TCU and Oklahoma State, but neither of them were in the top 70 in run defenses last year either. So when you actually kind of subtract all his, I never want to subtract, but I want to take into consideration that he had his best games against poor defenses. Other than that, it's not that impressive. And from what I saw from, Samaje P. Ryan, he looked impressive in those games. So I know it's always going to be a debate on who the better guy was because they had very similar numbers. They kind of had similar workloads, but everyone loves the flashier looking, Joe Mixon. I get it, but I don't know if he's worth the price when I can get P. Ryan a little bit later and get better opportunity. He's not sharing carries with Jeremy Hill or Gio Bernard, and he's not running behind a shitty offensive line like the Bengals have. The Bengals O-line is deteriorating while Washington's is looking, pretty damn good. So we'll see what happens. I like P. Ryan a lot.
That's fair. I like P. Ryan a pretty good deal as well. I didn't want to make it sound like I didn't by saying, I didn't like his tape as much as you did. And I definitely think Howard was the better prospect last year, but I was, a huge Howard fanboy. I think he's my RB3 in the class.
I missed on Howard last year. I'll admit it.
Yeah. If it makes you feel any better, I'm selling off every share I have now because I don't trust him to kind of hold up the numbers he's doing now.
Oh, because you're team Benny Cunningham, huh?
I did not ever say that. I'm just concerned that the wheels are going to fall off at some point and that this magic carpet ride that makes me look right, I think it's going to crash and burn because, I don't know, I guess it's just supposed to.
Yeah, I don't think so. I do think P. Ryan is a better running back than Jordan Howard, but Howard's already established, and I think he's going to continue to run buck wild there in Chicago. They're going to need someone to kind of be the star there for a little while these rookie or young quarterbacks start, they get their feet a little bit more wet. And these wide receivers actually, stay healthy. So Elshon's gone now. Kevin White, we need to see him go. I love Cameron Meredith, but they're going to have to rely on Jordan Howard a lot. So we'll see how that goes.
That's fair. I could easily see him holding the numbers he did again. But I don't think there's really any more ceiling than what we've already seen in terms of like a per game basis.
Yeah, I can't hate on you for wanting to sell Jordan Howard. I was just last week or the week prior telling you how I'm just selling Melvin Gordon now for very similar reasons. I get it.
Yeah, and part of it is just like the Melvin Gordon argument. I don't think he's going to get any more valuable. That's the main reason I'm selling. Not because I think the wheels are going to immediately fall off, but I think even if he continues to hit, RB8 prices, I don't even know if he's going higher than that, but I think it's probably right around there.
Yeah, you're never going to get more of a return on a guy than probably, someone like Jordan Howard or Melvin Gordon than you can right now. I mean, you can get him for multiple firsts, and if we're talking about running backs, the super volatile position, why the hell not? You got your money's worth out of him. Sell high, pick up two guys that can do a little less good, but now you get some added depth. Yeah, I'm all for doing something like that. I still like Jordan Howard though this year.
Yeah. With that, I guess we'll move on to our questions unless you have just some more randos you want to bring up.
I'm kind of good on the running backs right now.
Yeah. So I guess we'll move on to our first question. Comes from at Big Perm 3113, or excuse me, 3313. What do you guys think about Zach Ertz in 2017? I'm not a huge fan, to be honest. I think he's going to hold about the bottom half of the tight end one area. I don't think he's going to have those elite numbers. I think he's going to be more than startable every week. But I'm not feeling super great if I'm in like 2 tight end and he's my tight end 1, I guess.
No. I mean, the Zach Ertz thing fucking sucks, man. He continues to disappoint us. Everyone wants this breakout to happen. It's never going to happen, guys. And there's an even less chance of it happening after they bring in all these extra guys. Alshon Jeffrey, Jordan Matthews is still there. I know we're talking about, I really don't want to mention that wide receiver that came from San Francisco.
Yeah.
I know you're super high on him, and I just like to bring him up when I have the chance. But Torrey Smith. All right, so but you have these guys.
And Nelson Aguilar still there. And Nelson Aguilar.
There's just too many guys, and they're all kind of guys. Besides Alshon and Jordan Matthews, Zach Ertz, he's probably the third option there. And someone like Carson Wentz, for him to get to his third read, is probably not going to happen often. We know that I hate Carson Wentz with a fiery passion. I don't like his upside at all. He's going to continue to ride this 3-year thing where it's going to happen, guys. Just wait for it. Zach Ertz is going to be a thing. No, he's not. And you're probably going to continue to pay too much for him. He's probably going to catch a touchdown here or there. But he's going to give you those duds. He's going to give you those 1 receptions for 15 yards, sometimes a touchdown, sometimes not. And yeah, in 2 tight end leagues, if I had to roll out Zach Ertz as my tight end 1, I would be kind of very, very worrisome about it. But yeah, Perm, man, I don't know. Get off the Ertz train while you have the chance. Go elsewhere. It's not many places to go around these tight ends. Just don't, sell him. Everyone fucking loves Zach Ertz. If you have Zach Ertz, just get rid of him. There's owners out there that are still on board with Zach Ertz and think that he's going to be a thing. Just don't worry about it.
And he follows it up with asking, who gets the 2017 comp of the diseased penis of the NFL? Now, this is a reference to an older episode that Tyler and I had where I named Zach Ertz the diseased penis of the NFL. This year, I had it in my head, and now I got it. It's LeGarrette Blount.
We're gonna stick around in Philadelphia there,
huh? He's still there. He's like herpes. The motherfucker just never goes away, and nobody likes him. So he's just like herpes.
Well, it's hard to hate on a guy if he's on your roster and he's scoring you, 12 plus touchdowns a year. And now he puts himself into a similar situation where Ryan Matthews is probably gone. And, the best running back on that team then is, 48-year-old Darren Sproles. Wendell Smallwood, he's never going to be that guy. But LeGarrette Blount is going to be the guy that pounds that football in. And I hope they leave the football out of Wentz's hands in those red zone situations. I want to see Alshon Jeffrey and Jordan Matthews score some touchdowns. But when it comes to that red zone, it comes you're 7, 5, 3 yards out. It's going to be LeGarrette Blount, and he's going to continue to score you 10-plus touchdowns this year. No doubt about it. It's absolutely going to happen unless they bring someone else in. So don't hate on the guy that scores you points and wins you matches in your league. I don't know if I want. I know you will. So I actually don't have a candidate for that. Let's see. If Blount is yours, man, I don't know. I'm not prepared for this, so maybe next week I'll have a guy and I'll kind of think about it because I think this is a very respectable award and I don't really want to give it to the wrong person,
I understand, and it's okay. I didn't ask you to prepare for this one because I figured he wanted to know who my Zach Ertz was. I guess I created the award, so I didn't think we were going to do multiple candidates. But I want to hear yours, and I think we can do like a random title every week and decide who's going to win a fantasy award. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, awards are awesome, man. I think recognition is very important in any organization. So I think for us as Dynasty Dickholes to really start recognizing these guys for their hard work.
And then, of course, we're going to need a comedy award to go with it.
Oh yeah, we can't always be serious. I assume we would have to kind of be kind of comical about these things as well, because we need our listeners to laugh just awkwardly while they're sitting at work and just that random chuckle. And all the coworkers look at them and he'll have to tell them, these guys just make me laugh. And that's all I want to do is make our listeners laugh. Whether it's out of like, oh, I feel terrible for these guys and wow, these guys are terribly sad, so sad that I laugh about it, or every now and then actually say a good joke. I'm good for 1 out of every 5 jokes, maybe a little chuckle.
Sure, something like that. I guess our next question it's another one from Big Perm. He hit us up with a bunch this week. Who are you targeting in second rounds of rookie drafts? Wide receivers you liked pre-draft, or running backs that could see time and be potential flip candidates? I think pretty much everybody we mentioned today, short of Connor. If Hunt fell to the second round, I'm jumping all over that. P. Ryan, I'd take in the second round. What's that?
Hunt and P. Ryan both are at times going in the second rounds. I see. Zay Jones, we see him fall to the second round, but these are guys that I actually like. Yeah. If we're talking about guys that I probably don't like as much that are falling to the second round that other people do, I like guys like Jeremy McNichols. I mean, he is in a stupid crowded situation. And at the same time, you got guys like what the hell? It's not Doug Martin, Charles Sims. Oh, Jaquiz Rogers. I mean, they love Rogers there, and there's no way that McNichols is going to take, his spot. He's not going to push him to the side. And then Charles Sims is still there, and who knows what's going on with Doug Martin. So Jeremy McNichols is a great, maybe if you're stuck picking him up and then trade him afterwards. I would do that. Same thing with someone maybe like Marlon Mack. I mean, yeah, there's people that love this guy so much because they think he's going to supplant, Frank Gore right away. Who knows when Gore's going to go down? I mean, sure, he could go, but you could sell that kind of hype and be like, hey, here is Frank Gore's successor. So get him while he's still cheap.
See, with Marlon Mack, I like Marlon Mack, but I don't like him as that mid to early second round pick. I've seen him go a couple of times. If I can get him at the beginning of third, I'm all about him. But it's all dependent on the price with me for him.
And I think one last running back in the second round that could be interesting to trade away and maybe kind of flip if you wanted to is Jamal Williams. We saw Green Bay pick up 3 running backs. Jamal Williams is probably the successor to Ty Montgomery, but they also picked up what was his name there? Aaron
Jones.
Yeah, so Aaron Jones he's gonna be that receiving complement there. And then they picked up like a fullback-esque type running back. I don't think his name even matters. But it is kind of crowded there too. So if you're going to pay a second-round price for Jamal Williams, and he may not even be the starting running back, he may never be the starting running back. I think he's worth kind of moving on to someone else and try to get a little positive ROI. Maybe kind of flip it for a second next year if you wanted to, or an earlier second or a late first if someone's really on board with him, because Green Bay's definitely not on board with Ty Montgomery, but they're still going to be on board with him until he can't do it anymore. So Jamal Williams, Marlon Mack, and probably Jeremy McNichols are my 3 guys that running backs that are going in the second round that I'd be okay with not having on my team. That I think carry some value for other people where you could trade them.
See, I like Jamal Williams a lot pre-draft, so I kind of see him as a guy I'm targeting in the end of the second, depending on who else is left on the board. But
it's
for
just
me,
crowded, man. It's a passing offense too, and that's the Aaron Rodgers show. I don't think there's ever going to be enough volume there for someone like Jamal Williams to be a legitimate fantasy asset for you to take him in the second round of rookie drafts. You know what I mean?
But you see, Jamal Williams is also going to be a massive asset in the passing game, so he could see a lot of work there.
But then you have Aaron Jones, who I think is a better pass catcher, and I think they're going to utilize him more as that pass catching role. That's why I'm kind of a little lower on Jamal.
Hey, that's to each his own. I'm not as big on Jones, and I'm bigger on Williams.
Cool.
But I guess we'll move on to our next question. Comes from at Fish on the Play. How much do you boost tight ends in tight end premium leagues? And he suggests like extra 0.5 PPR. We mentioned it last week that to me the best way to boost tight end premium is start two tight ends. You know, it's a perfect way to make the position more relevant. We'll normally add 0.5 PPR to scoring, and I think most of our leagues now have their touchdowns worth 7 points. But that's about how we make the tight ends relevant in the tight end premium.
Yeah, and then he asked about Ertz. So I know we talked a lot about the tight end premium scoring last week, like you mentioned. So doing two tight ends is the best way, I think. I don't think changing the scoring matters as much as you think it would, and I think we made a case for that last week. So, but I do like when you add the extra half-point PPR, and then you add the extra 1 point for touchdowns, but it really doesn't matter too much. It just kind of it puts your attention on tight ends a little bit more, and I think that's what's more important to people. They want to see more players be relevant in these drafts. You know, they want to kind of scatter them around a little bit more and kind of balance that output. But doing two tight ends probably does that work more for you than changing up the scoring.
Yeah, and I guess part of the reasoning I can see about wanting to up their scoring is not so much to, you know, make the tight ends within themselves more important, but it's to try and start matching up that scoring between the running backs and the wide receivers in PPR. It's the reason we started doing running backs having point per carry, and it kind of balances us out to where you're looking at that one steady decline in scoring instead of just random numbers dropping off all over the place.
You know, it would be intriguing for these tight ends. I know there's kind of a trend and a little bit of a push going towards point per first down. I think that's interesting for tight ends.
I can see that being really interesting for tight ends.
Yeah, and I think you get a guy like Jason Witten or even Zach Ertz. I know you're talking about Zach Ertz. He's the kind of guy that would benefit greatly from point per first down leagues and not so much those touchdown or reception driven leagues. So I don't know. I'm kind of looking forward. I know the Scott Fishbowl this year is going getting rid of point per reception and adding point per first down. So no one knows what the hell to do. I think it's gonna be fun, and I think it's our first test to see if this is really going to work out. Because I would like to try something like that sometime. I think it makes you think a little bit more, really makes you look at these offenses and how they manage their football. Because, you know, when you have running backs getting a quarter point per carry, and every now and then they'll get the first down as well. So that's a big scoring play. But I think it balances it a little bit more for these tight ends. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. See, the biggest issue I have with point for first down is there's no easy, simple way to track it on Sundays when I'm trying to keep track of multiple games on my phone. I can't pull up the ESPN app and it'll tell me who got how many first downs or anything like that.
Well, MFL can.
Yeah, but then I gotta fucking sit on MFL all day.
You don't already? No, but Stats LLC, they do manage point per first down. Sure, it may not always be super accurate. But let's say this. I like the case for point per first down more so than, let's say, a swing pass to a running back and he gets tackled behind the line of scrimmage for -1 yard. That should not be nearly a point. You know what I mean? Just because he caught the football behind the line of scrimmage.
So that's the same argument everybody uses,
or at the line. But it makes perfect sense because it happens so often. It happens all the time. But I know we all hope for those plays, like, oh, just dump it off to him. Let me get this 1 point. You know. So
I think you're just being a
hater. Like I said, I don't know what's going to happen with it, but I know there are some great articles written against PPR and maybe more so towards point per first down. I know Andy Behrens did something and something on it as did, let's see, I think John from 4for4. So I don't know. There's articles out there making a case for it, and it's interesting, and I'd like to see it happen.
I think it's stupid.
Everything's stupid.
Everything's stupid. I don't like stupid. It. I don't like change. It's dumb. But I think we're about coming to the end of our time. Kind of had a short episode this week. We're trying to start getting it under an hour, even maybe closer to 45 minutes in the future. And I think that'll give us better pacing for the show in general. So, Waz, you got any parting shots for us this week?
Farewell, partners.
Oh my god. All right, that was way better than any we ever got from Tyler, even though that was so much Tyler. Again, for those of y'all looking out for the IDP show, it's coming. It'll be here soon. We didn't forget you. We appreciate the feedback y'all been sending us so far. If you ever have any more or you have questions in the middle of the week, send them our way. We'll get them on the show, and hopefully we can keep building this thing back up.
Let's build it.
Let's build it. Wow. Breaking. Fuck. I'm going to have to cut that out. I just choked so hard. Fuck.
Breaking.
That's why you don't smoke before you record.
That's right. I wouldn't even be talking right now. I'd be like,
yeah.
How many people are watching right now?
2.
We are sorry.
He's sorry. I don't give a fuck.
Breaking. All right, buddy. All right. Let's get out of here.
This has been the Dynasty Playbook. I've been your host, Drew. You can find me on Twitter at DrewDotsonNFL. With me has been still my new killer co-host, Waz, at WazNFL. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week.